students, doing a quick check-in with you today just to see how your project is going. You guys are working on the independent poetry dissection. It is a narrative poem. It tells a story. You guys had a choice board. There are 4 different poem options that you could choose from, and you can find all of this in your All Students playlist. And then you guys are watching this video. It goes through your 4 choices. And then these are the things you're annotating directly on the poem. So you're looking for rhyme scheme, vocabulary, theme and message, verb moods, active passive voice, diction and syntax, verbals, punctuation, figurative language, drawing images to visually represent sensory language, and then labeling plot diagram. So your 4 options are The Walrus and the Carpenter, The Raven, Paul Revere's Ride, and The Cavern by the Sea. So whenever you click on one of these poems, you're going to notice it's not a guided reading. There's nothing on here except the poem. These are from the Poetry Foundation. So you're going in and you're annotating this and you're marking it up, dissecting it for all of those key pieces on your checklist. So I'm going to go ahead and show you an example of what this will look like so that you have an idea in your mind. And so that you can kind of see a model, because I always think it's helpful for you to see a model. Okay. So this is what it will end up looking like. So I chose The Walrus and the Carpenter because I love Lewis Carroll. Lewis Carroll wrote Alice in Wonderland. It's just whimsical, it's silly, it's nonsensical, it's fun. So notice on the right-hand side, I wrote down all the things that I have to annotate. Rhyme scheme for 2 stanzas. Vocabulary words, I need 5. Theme and message at the end. 4 verb moods. 2 active passive voice. 1 diction. 1 syntax. 5 verbals. 5 advanced punctuation, 5 figurative language, images, and then the plot diagram. So I color coded mine on the side, on the right hand side, so that I know what I'm looking for, and then I'm going in and I'm annotating it. So the first thing, rhyme scheme is blue. You can see my rhyme scheme: A, B, C, B, D, B, E, F, G, F, H, F. I just did 2 stanzas. You're doing 2 stanzas. Next, I looked for some vocabulary words. So billows, I didn't know what that was, so I defined it. A sulkily, maybe I don't know what that means, so I defined that. I'm skimming and looking for other words that maybe are new to me. I'm not providing you the vocabulary words, to be clear. You're finding words that you want to define. So briny, I chose that one. Frothy, I thought was a good vocab word. Dismal was a good vocab word in this one. So I went in and I annotated those. Next up, after the vocabulary words, sorry, this is kind of bugging out on me. I have theme and message, so I listed at the end. Verb moods, I need 4. So notice, look, this right here, this is indicative, so I labeled that. Going on to the second page, you want to find an array of different types of verb moods. So I have a question here, so that's interrogative verb mood. This one is a command, that's the imperative verb mood. So I went in and I was skimming. This is another indicative verb mood, and I labeled a couple different kinds. You can double up on a few of them depending on which poem you chose and what's there, but you want to try and show a couple different types of verb moods. Next up is active and passive voice. So here, the sun was shining on the sea. This is active voice. The subject, the sun, is doing the shining, active. Down here, such qualities of sand is this: were only cleared away. Were cleared away. That's happening to the sand. So we have a helping verb and a main verb. So that's a passive voice piece there. So I labeled that as passive voice. That's it. You just need 2. 1 active, 1 passive. Diction and syntax. Diction is word choice that's used by an author for a particular reason. Syntax is an interesting arrangement of those words. So you are finding an example of a word that you feel the author used for a particular reason. So here, my diction and syntax, I'm doing orange. Eldest, the eldest oyster. So here, eldest was specifically used instead of the oldest, and that was diction. That was a specific word choice by the author. So I listed that there. And then I went in and I looked for some interesting syntax. The time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things. That's like an interesting chain of words and how it's organized. So I put, hey, this is some interesting syntax. So you're going in and you're labeling that. Next up, again, sorry this is so jumpy. I don't know why it's doing that. Verbals. So verbals, we have gerunds, which are, they were verbs, they're now functioning as nouns. No one's doing the action, we're talking about it. Gerunds always end in ing. We have participles. Participles were verbs, they're now functioning as adjectives or descriptive words. And then we also have infinitives, which are to plus a verb. If you forget verbals, we learned a whole thing on verbals. If you forget that, you can go back to supportive resources, open up all the resources on verbals, and you can use that to support you. So for example, to come, to plus a verb, infinitive. The birds were flying overhead, flying, gerund. There's a really good participle in here. The steaming eyes. Steaming. You can steam, something can steam, that's a verb. Here it's describing the eyes. Which eyes? The steaming eyes. Since it was a verb, it's now functioning as an adjective. That's an example of a participle, so I labeled that. Okay, so you guys are finding all of the verbals that you can, and you are annotating them. Next up, advanced punctuation. So we strategically chose poems that have a lot of advanced punctuation in them. So you are finding the punctuation and then you're explaining what's happening there. So there's tons of dashes here. So I'm labeling dashes in the Walrus and the Carpenter. Let's see, what else we got? We've got semicolon here. This connects two closely related complete thoughts. There's a colon in here that I labeled, so I put that. So you guys are finding advanced punctuation and you're explaining why is this used here. So you're not just circling it, but if it's a colon, why is there a colon there? If it is a dash, why is there a dash there? And then we're doing figurative language, 5 examples of figurative language. Again, supportive resources is a great place for you to look today. If you click on supportive resources, there is a Quizlet of figurative language. You also have 2 different figurative language, like study guides. They were activities that we did that model different types of figurative language. So here I have the repetition of a word at successive clauses. That's an anaphora, so I labeled that. I have personification. I have an oxymoron. I have all kinds of stuff in here. So I'm going in and I'm labeling 5 different types of figurative language. Okay, images. I've yet to draw my images, but you should, in the margins, draw some pictures that go along with the plot and what's happening in the story. And that's just to visualize sensory language. And then the last piece is plot diagram. So I went in and I'm like, okay, here's the exposition, characters, setting, introduced. Here we have some rising action, so I've labeled that. You're just going in and you are identifying it. So again, theme and message should go at the very, very end. So I put my theme here is trust and message. Be careful of who you trust and their intentions, because the oysters trust the carpenter and the walrus, and it doesn't end that well for them. Okay, so this is what yours should end up looking like. You still have all today and tomorrow to work on this. This is a 4-day project because I understand this is a lot of work, but it's a summative assessment. It's a summative review. We're reviewing all of the skills that we've learned, and we're practicing a reading strategy of annotation. So if you have any questions, you can jump on Zoom with me. And I can help you out, or you can join at 3:05 for office hours, or you can just send me an email and I can answer you directly that way. Cool. Thank you.